Welcome to Skika Uncover. This is a podcast where we are going to be speaking to African artists and learning their stories. Our aim is to uncover the truths and the lies behind building a livelihood and impacting the lives of others through their art. I'm super excited. I am going to be speaking to Bryan Adagala. He is a filmmaker, a photographer, a videographer. On his Instagram, if you go check it out, he's also mhenga fulani. But he is the founder of an incredible company called Paragon Time Lapse. How are you doing, Bryan?
I'm doing so well. That introduction, now what should I do after that? Such an intro.
You keep working. Actually, I forgot something in the introduction. It's Bryan with a Y. That's very important.
You're making me sound like those people for Alliance.
Oh, yeah. Unajua mimi nilienda Alliance. Unajua. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
It's a nice chilly Saturday morning. I'm good.
It's a nice chilly Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Hey,
Freeze and shine.
Exactly.
It's the theme for today. Now, welcome to our podcast and thank you so much for saying yes to doing this. You're a pretty busy guy. I was Googling you when we were doing our list of people that we want to host and we're talking to, and I was just like, hey, huyu anafanyanga. When do you rest? When do you breathe? But I want us to start at the beginning. I want to know your origin story, specifically when it comes to the camera.
When it comes to the camera?
When did you first interact with a camera? Were you already interested, or was it like, haha, by mistake, and then you're like, I think I like this?
I think it's the second option.
The second one.
Well, my history with the camera is rather interesting. I started it when I was still in school. The interest sparked when I was still in school. I was doing computer science.
Yeah.
And I wanted to develop games for learning.
Oh, cool.
Or just games in general.
Yes.
So then when I went and studied the process of game making, I noticed it's almost similar to film. And from my childhood growing up, I'd been very heavily exposed to computers and, movies. My mom's way of keeping us in the house was to buy us a ton of Home Alone DVDs and cassettes to keep us inside the house. So that's how the interest started developing in film.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to do something in film, but I knew I did not want to be in front of the camera like I am at the moment.
Right. Just avoid this as much as humanly possible.
As much as humanly possible. But see my life. See. Anyway, so that's where the interest was, but I did not know I was interested in film. So coming to the University of Nairobi, I met my business partner now.
Yeah.
He was a photographer at the time, so he was taking pictures on his phone.
Right.
And, he was super uber passionate about it. Every time and every now and then in class, everywhere he was like, guys, pose for a picture, this and that. Then I was like, what's this guy up to? So I got interested.
Okay.
So and then he now started teaching me, and then slowly the interest sparked. But then I did nothing about it. So when we were doing our, I think, second year projects where we were now making games now making video games
right.
like I wanted to make, that's now when I saw how important now photography would be for the kind of project we were doing. Because we needed to get like sample data from the field and things like that so that we can translate it and make it make sense. So slowly the interest started developing, and then I realized I'm not more of a stills kind of guys. I'm more of the motion kind of person.
Yes.
So and then coincidentally at that time we were four roommates in one bedroom apartment on Gong Road.
Real tight and squeezed.
Yeah, 2 guys in the living room, 2 guys in the bedroom.
That's how it starts, man.
Yeah, and then 3 of us were into art.
Okay.
1 of us was just into now whatever we were doing at school.
Okay.
So the other third guy was doing music production. So there was constant flow of artists in and out of our house because the house was the studio.
Yes.
So what happened was now the artists need music videos because they've made songs.
Yes.
So I remember it was during that period of cyphers where people were producing a lot of cyphers. Kinoktopizo were coming of age. Kafmula was also coming of age with the 2-5 flows and things like that. Calligraph was also doing his thing at the time. It was around 2012, 2013, that period. So they were also in the same kind of demographic or dispensation with these characters I'm mentioning. So he was also a music producer producing for a hip-hop group. And then, I was like, but I can do for you guys the cypher videos I am seeing. These are the guys do for themselves.
Right.
So that's how I got on board now. That's how I held my first camera. So one of the rappers there one of the rappers there was a photographer. So he had a Canon 6D.
Fantastic.
So that was the first camera now that I shot with my first ever film project.
A full music video.
Yeah, it was a whole full music video. It was a cipher. And then I remember we shot with a security light. You know, we couldn't hire
lighting, sound,
lighting and stuff like, because we didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
So one friend of ours told us, my mom has a security light back at home. I can come with it. We use it. We're like, cool, bring it.
These solar ones, the standalone, the really bright ones.
The really bright, and it was the orange one. When you point it, you see like how nice and subtle this is. That one was. It started becoming hot inside here. Even this fabric could start burning.
For real.
Yes.
Wow.
But yeah, that's where we started from. And then slowly we started building from there. So I did a ton of music videos all the way to around 2018. That's when now I met some guys who were doing travel.
Okay.
And then they approached me with the idea that, we want to do vlogs. And then at that time, I'd morphed into a filmmaker now because I'd done a series of short films. I'd done my music video projects. I'd also done my own documentaries in between. So I somehow knew what I was doing. So when this travel guys said they wanted to do vlogs, I was like, let's be extra. Let's not do vlogs. Let's call them vlogumentaries.
Yes.
Because you're storytellers. Let's add some zing to it.
And we have so many incredible travel documentarists now.
Yes.
Here in the 254. Yeah. But I'm like, nini ndo mulianza?
Well, that's so much pressure.
Claim it.
But I can say at that time, there was even Sharon Mashira was also doing travel vlogs at the time, And then there was who else who we were looking up to's work. Well, it was locally. It was actually Sharon because she was working with some guys called Backdrop.
Yes,
Those
I know.
Guys are getting a free shout out. Yeah.
Yes.
Because we would look at Backdrop, what they're doing, and look at what we want to do. You're like, okay, cool. These guys are far ahead.
Yeah, they've set a standard, so we know where to aim for.
Yeah, and then at that time I would be inspired by people like Sam Calder. Sam Calder were now creators from outside.
Yes,
and Sam Calder's work was purely editorial. And then now the person who now actually fit my style perfectly was a filmmaker called Dan Mess from South Africa. We even collaborated with him on some projects.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah. So Dan was the one whose style resonated the most with myself. So my work kind of, if you look at Dan's work and my work, kind of almost looks alike.
The same, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference here and there.
Yeah. Different influences. You're from different countries.
Of course, yeah.
Nice. So what I've heard, which I think is amazing, is all of this started with a borrowed camera. It was not even yours.
Yeah, it started with a borrowed camera.
Light.
Yeah.
So for anyone who wants to do it, don't be scared. Kama hauna, kuna moja kwa hapo karibu.
Yeah, just work with what you have.
Fine. Yeah. So when did you get your own camera?
Oh, my own camera. I got it as recently as 2019.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the first. But my first camera was a photography camera.
Okay.
The one that I ran with the longest, I got it the first time in around 2014. Yeah.
Did you buy it from somebody you knew? Did you save up, go to the store? What was that journey?
So what happened was, I remember a friend of ours was working with an organization that wanted to do a happy video.
Okay.
It was during that period where you see Safaricom was doing the Pharrell's happy dance video and things like that. So we had done some of these funny skits with her. She was a neighbor of ours.
Okay.
So she then told her boss that, I know some guys who can actually do this kind of stuff for us.
Right.
Why can't you test them out? I knew the boss was British. He was outgoing. He was doing things not normally.
Yeah, so he was happy to hear about
something new. Ask them to come over to my office. And us guys at that time had never pitched for any film project. We'd never done anything. We were just learning at that time. So my friend and I just put up some haphazard Microsoft PowerPoint presentation
together.
Yeah, the small things we've done, and then there's something we showed the previous day just to show for that particular meeting, and then we go present.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
I love that. Add to the portfolio. Then they don't know that it was made yesterday.
Yeah, they don't know that it was made yesterday. We even made a storyboard. So we had our portfolio that we made yesterday, a storyboard that we had made for them to show them how we'll approach it.
I love this.
All that stuff we had done. So we went into the meeting with our, we know this is the pitch for the century. And we actually got it.
Nice.
We actually got it. So the guy paid us. And then we did the happy video for the organization. They loved the output and now it gave us the second job now. Now this second job is the one now that bought for me my second camera, my first camera now.
Okay.
Yes. It was a Nikon D5200 at that time. So I remember we were paid our down payment to now start work because they'd given us a second job that was now out of town.
Okay.
We were supposed to go start documenting a certain project that was happening somewhere in Lodwar.
Oh, nice.
In Kapese. Yeah, somewhere in the heart of Turkana. So, from just having a pitch that was put together yesterday, doing the happy videos to now filming something, documenting something in Turkana.
Yes.
And I was like, why has this man trusted us so much? But anyway, we are here. Let's go for it.
So keep doing it until he changes his mind or something.
Yeah, at that time we know nothing about taxation. We know nothing about how to quote. We know, we are students.
Yeah.
The only thing we know is our expertise in doing the work itself.
Yeah.
But when it comes to now the money side of the business, we know nothing. But the boss was gracious enough. I should even shout out to him. He was gracious enough to hold our hands throughout the entire process, especially now when we were doing the second long-term project.
Oh.
Because that's now when we knew about down payments. That's when we knew about withholding tax.
So he would ask you and tell you, find out about this.
Yes, find out about this. Make sure you have this. Yes. Yeah. So he would literally handhold us through the entire process.
What? That's as somebody who's paying you. That's
incredible. As a client. Yes.
What's his name?
It was diabolical. Should I mention him?
Yeah, mention him. Give him his flowers.
Andrew Hart. Yeah, receive your flowers. Yeah. He was the boss at that time for that organization. Yes.
What?
He actually handheld us. He actually taught us business before we even knew business.
No, yeah. No,
So
that's really nice because usually with young people, it's always stories of being taken advantage of as opposed to this other side.
Yeah, I have actually very minimal stories of being taken advantage of in the industry. Courtesy of Andrew. Because Andrew would handhold us. You tell us, you already know how much you could bill.
Yeah.
When he was telling us to invoice or quote for a job, he'd ask us, justify this line. Why are you billing me for this? So you go back and ask yourself, so why am I actually having this item inside this quotation?
Yes.
You see, then slowly over time, we now came to understand our service. We now understood what needs to be inside the quote, what should not be in the quote, what the tax should be. Apart from now also you know how to remunerate yourself.
Yes.
As the person who's getting the job done.
As the person doing the work. Yeah, because you have to pay for the equipment you've rented, pay for time, anyone else that you hire, plus pay yourself when you're doing this.
Exactly. So know how to separate those costs. So slowly we learned that. So the down payment he gave me for that job in 2014 for the job we were going to do in Turkana was the one that bought me my first camera. I remember I went and took all that money to some shop in town called Universal Gift Center.
Yes.
Guys are getting shout outs for free here.
Yeah.
But I took it to those guys. Those guys know me well now. We took that 70,000 there and paid all of it, not even thinking about how to get back home.
Right.
So it's my business partner who paid for my fare back.
Oh, shout out.
So I remember, I spent all my money on that kit lens. It was an 18 to 55 mm. And a Nikon D5200.
It must have felt like a child.
Oh, yeah. You should have seen me taking it back home.
Walking like this.
Yeah, it's like you're carrying 1 million bob. You don't want anyone to look at you.
Yeah.
And you've carried so many things inside the bag. You've trying to hide it so that nobody sees it.
Yes, yeah.
But that was my first camera now that I bought now with my own money now.
That's so incredible. If you were to advise a young videographer who's starting out, who doesn't know how to price themselves, they know how to shoot, they know how to edit, they know how to give you a great final production. That part is fine. This other side, maybe they've never even done. They've only done school projects. What are the traits that you saw in now Mr. Andrew to help them figure out who's going to be a good boss and who's likely to take you for a ride?
It's all about your personality now and your people skills. That's what I learned from Andrew. Andrew, if he was, he was a CEO of the organization. Everything he would do for that organization was not the normal.
He already had that trait.
Yes, he already had that trait already in him. So that's how we also linked up, because even me also, I'm also not the kind of normal artist you'll get, because I went somewhere, I was talking about taxes, and somebody was asking, I've never had an artist talk about taxes. What's wrong with you?
Where is this coming from?
Where is this coming from? It's because now that kind of background that Andrew gave us. So the one thing that Andrew taught us the most that now would... Let me talk about myself. That makes me, because now I'm a director of my own organization.
Yes.
That makes me the director I am for my own organization is breaking down stuff, breaking down a problem. The smaller the breakdown, the better. the understanding about the problem.
Right.
And that also is also a concept I also learned in school also, because in school you're taught problem solving.
Yes.
And for you to solve a problem, you have to break it down to its most basic form. So also Andrew enforced that now when you are now in the job market.
Yes.
So if you are able to break down a problem, you are able to break down even a personality. Nothing is limited for you. That is how you even know how to even price, because you're able. You see, you said there's a creative who knows how to shoot, to edit, and do everything technical.
Right.
But they just haven't figured out the money.
Yes.
Now that means you've not even figured out your own process, because if you figure out your own process, you will be able to break it down. You will know in editing, maybe I ingest software. When I'm ingesting material.
Yes.
I'm ingesting through a software.
Yes.
That software, maybe I pay for it as a service.
Yeah.
So what's the subscription fee?
Yes.
That I'm paying for maybe in a month for the service. So if that's the amount I'm paying for in a month, how many clients do I get of this nature in that month? So you can distribute now the subscription across the
yeah. So
that's
in the code for editing, that's what that number would be.
Yeah. So you can say maybe there's color correction. So I use maybe DaVinci Resolve for color correction. Maybe the license is maybe $100 for color correction.
Yes.
And maybe I have 10 clients in a month.
Kila mtu $10.
So kila mtu $10.
Yes.
And you have your $100 for DaVinci.
Yes.
You add it on your budget line for quoting for post-production.
And it makes sense.
Yeah, and you keep building from there.
I read somewhere when you know your problem, or when you break down your problem, you're already so much closer to getting the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you need to know where is the hiccups, and then you can figure out the rest.
Yes.
Wow, shout out to you, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah.
It was very, very nice of you to be able to do that for them. So then you start doing gigs and projects, and now you figured out, how do I price, how do I cost? But you have a business partner. How did you guys meet? And then at what point did you decide you were going to start Paragon together?
Well, my business partner and I met in the most interesting of circumstances.
Okay.
We were actually enrolling as students in the University of Nairobi at that time.
Oh,
so
this is a while back.
Yeah, that's a while back. That's around 2010.
Yeah.
And I remember we were on the queue for the student ID. And he wanted to, like, we were all waiting for our IDs. Then all of a sudden there was a conversation about money. So people were talking about, the course we are about to start doing, the kind of jobs that lay ahead. Guys were already money-minded on the get-go. I was like,
students, it's okay.
These guys are talking about money. Let me scoot over here.
Let me understand.
Yeah. So what's up? So we have continued having the conversation. Then there's just 3 dudes who I really resonated with.
Yeah.
And he happened to be one of the 3 dudes.
Okay.
Those are the guys who now we were roommates with now in campus.
Oh.
So from having that money conversation on the student ID line to now becoming roommates, to now seeing potential business opportunities that are there, to now actually becoming business partners now. And the funny thing is, we were actually, out of the 4 guys, we were the most antagonistic. I really didn't like him. And he knows.
You were the 2 who argue in the friend group. These guys never see eye to eye. We're going to be here all day.
We were like water and oil. We were never meeting. But funny thing is, we are now the ones who are doing the business together. So,
did you pick him knowing that sometimes you guys argue a lot, and maybe you knew this is the one person who will let me get away with nonsense, or at least it's the one person that I know will challenge me all through, so it's probably going to be a success? Or that was subconscious?
It was subconscious. I don't think it was intentional, but the only intentional thing I knew is I knew he was a good photographer.
Okay.
And what I was thinking at that time, I knew I needed him. So
yeah.
that was
You're
the
like,
only
this
reason.
company has to make sense. So I have videography down pat.
Yeah.
But most people want photographs as well.
Yeah.
So
and then I also needed him to learn, because he knew the craft better than myself. So he would tell me who the photographers. Now that is what I needed him for at the time.
Okay, a good networker also.
Yeah, he was also a good networker. So he knew. He at that time we were doing things like Insta-meets.
Yes.
So those Insta-meets were being organized by people like Kina Asif Khan and Kina Truthsling and Mutua Mateka at that time.
Yes.
So he knew these people. Me, I didn't know them, because me, I didn't give a crap about photography. So those guys were already miles ahead. They already knew. And also in that circle of people, there were people also knew film. And I needed to know film from them firsthand. There's what you learn from watching YouTube.
Yeah, true.
And there's what you learn from first-hand encounters. So I wanted to learn firsthand. So that's how I got in.
Okay. Now you've been in the industry. Well, you met him about 20 years ago. And now you've been in the industry for 10, 12 plus years.
Yeah, around 10 years now.
And I want to know, how would you, I know you liked the intro at the beginning, but how would you now describe yourself? If you meet somebody who maybe you know would be interested in working with Paragon, but wants to hear a sentence from you of who is Bryan Adagala as an artist?
Right now, I'd call myself a storyteller, to simplify it, but I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to access towards right now at the moment is becoming a producer.
Oh, nice.
I realized, you see, we are in a gig-based economy.
Yes.
And the short films I was being called to, and the music videos I was being called to, and the small documentary sets I was being called to, those are the gigs.
Yes.
Now, if we only have one producer, that means there's only a certain number of gigs that can be there.
That happen at any one time. That's true.
At one given time.
Yeah.
But if there's multiple producers, that means we can have multiple gigs happening at the same time. So we can turn this thing to something like a factory manufacturing-ish sort of thing.
Yes.
So imagine if we have like one of these Skika sets is happening here, another one like is happening somewhere in Nairobi. We have like 100 of them across the board with different producers happening.
Epic.
Yeah, you see like how you have a crew here that's already here being employed. There's other crews on other 100 sets being employed.
Elsewhere, yeah.
So now I'm moving towards that side now. I want to become a producer. I want to add more gigs in the market now through my own kind of passion projects, yes.
The other day I was actually asking myself, what is a producer? Because I've worked in the media, and to all the producers I've worked with, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to speak the truth. There was a lot of carrying of cables, calling the guests, calling the host, checking if you're finished with makeup. Checking in with the cameraman, which I thought, okay, yeah, that seems like it's in your scope of work. But there was a lot of things that I was like, is this really within the scope? They would be the ones to make sure transport is there or transport is not there. They're the ones who send the emails to make sure you can enter the premises and all of that. And it seemed like a lot. And most of the time in media houses, just like what you've described, a producer won't have one show, right? You'll have numerous shows under you. And same for radio as well.
Yes, yeah.
You can have several shows that you produce, some on weekdays, some on the weekends on different time slots and what have you. So with a proper, how you understand storytelling and filmmaking, what is a producer? What's the definition? If somebody is growing up and they want to be an executive producer, what should they actually be doing?
Now, if you say executive producer, that's the money person.
Okay, that's why all these actors are... Okay,
yes, but we'll come to that one now. Now, the producer that you've described is actually a project manager.
Okay.
From how I understand film. So, each film you are trying to produce is a project.
Yes.
And you will need a project manager.
Right.
Now, the project manager is now the one who knows the personnel you will need.
Right.
The time frame you will need to do that project. The budget or the costing for that project. And everything that project needs. It's the producer's task. So the producer will be even in charge of hiring the director. The producer will even hire every crew that is important, even the talent, or maybe the casting agency that will bring in the talent.
Yes.
So that's the producer's job. So the producer starts with the job, with the project from inception. Maybe it's a project that came from a writer. So the producer will be called in as the first person. Yeah, they're called the above the line crew members. So they'll be called in as the first person now to start putting together the team. Yeah. Because now, after working in the industry for 10 years, I already know who can do lighting a certain way.
Yes.
I already know who can lens for me a certain way.
Yes.
I already know who can cut a certain way. I already know who can act a certain way. So, you have like this bank, this knowledge base of talent and resources you can tap into that can make maybe a production happen. So that's pretty much, I see the role of a producer. A producer's job is just to make things happen.
Okay. Yeah. And so now the executive producer?
Bring in the money now. The executive producer is now like the investor.
Okay.
To now fund this madness that we are trying to accomplish.
Which also means that when it makes money, the project itself, then they're like a shareholder. So they would also get paid from the funds.
Yes.
That explains so much, because I was like, okay, all these actors now are becoming executive, in the UK and in the US.
Yeah.
where established actors are becoming executive producers and, creating their own production companies. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense for you to want to control this other side as well. Because as an actor, you're given the script and the director tells you, no, I want you to do it like this. No, I want you to take that again. But if you're on this other side, you get to control more of the storytelling.
Yes.
And if you're the money person, then it's even more control.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've understood. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning.
Because there's even a Hollywood cinematographer I love called Roger Deakins who says, the job of when you're on set, for example, as a cinematographer, you've been hired. You're an employee.
Yes.
Well, you can suggest your ideas,
right?
But they can be ignored.
Yes.
But now when you're the producer, you're the one suggesting the ideas.
And everyone has to listen.
Yeah, and everyone will listen to you. So most of these Hollywood guys, like you've said, the established one is because they've already made their money. Their money is sitting right now.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing people like Idris now becoming directors and executive producers.
Yes.
Because now they've learned the game. They've known what to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Reese Witherspoon was a great example for people because she started Sunshine or Little Sunshine, something. That's what the production company was called. And she sold it recently for millions and millions of dollars, if I'm not wrong. And she was a great example of, I can work and I've been an actress and I'm at home with my kids now. But she started this company, Chinyamanji, doing a lot of like women-led productions, and they were doing so well and still doing ads and still doing. And she's built... Like we all blinked and suddenly there was this company that had such a huge net worth, and Reese Witherspoon is like, Legally Blonde still in her house chilling and pick roles as she wants to. Yeah. And I thought it was great, and it's an awesome example because that's the direction you're headed in. You've created your own company. You now want to be production full-time, and also not just production full-time. If what I've understood from what you've said, you want to create many producers. You'll be one.
Yes.
And then there'll be many producers. Others. Exactly. And a factory line.
Yeah,
now.
Factory line. And film is so diverse. Film is so wide.
Yeah.
Film has so many departments. You can just have a company that deals with grips and lighting.
Only.
Only. You can have a company that only deals with sound. You can only have a company that only deals with talent, that only just casts. You can have a company that only does production design, like how we're having a beautiful set inside here.
Yeah.
There's even, like, if you look at Nigerian music videos, there's a lady who does most of their sets.
Yes.
She has a whole line flow of workers, carpenters, drivers, everything, the entire shebang, just to make a music video set.
Right.
Yeah, and it's thriving. So we just need to think, instead of thinking of I need to be a casting director the entire time, because our industry is so young, we need to convert, you as a casting director need to convert your role to an organization.
Yes.
And then hire people in that organization.
Right.
Who can be casting directors, who can go to various productions and help out. Because every casting director has their perspective. You see, like for example, Nini Washera, I think Nini is the most known casting director in town.
Yes, she is.
She also has the kind of films she casts for.
Yeah.
Because we have a wide genre, wide pool of movies.
Very true, yeah.
Because the most of the things we've just tapped into at the moment is mostly drama.
Yeah.
And romance.
Yes.
What about action? There's Kina Victor Gatwen, you are now producing action. What about comedy? Mm-hmm. What about things like human-centered stories?
Yes.
What about thrillers? The cake is wide.
Yeah, that's so true.
The playing field is wide.
From an African perspective, that doesn't really exist yet. I mean, Nollywood has really tried.
Nollywood is actually there.
And I hear in Nollywood you can do like 100 films. These guys they be chopping them out as much as possible, which is what they did in America and in the UK when the industries were young, so that you can understand how to do things, and production is getting faster and better. But I love what you said, because I wanted to speak to parents directly. From what Bryan Adagala has said, please understand, if your child wants to go into any realm of film, there's a possibility of them creating their own business and their own company and hiring other people.
Yes, they can even be legal practitioners in the film.
Just film.
IP stuff.
And there's so much work in just that. You can have a whole law firm that only
deals
does
in
that
IP.
work.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm inspired, guys. I'm so inspired.
Even in just, for example, there's a distributor a publisher actually I was working with. He's South African.
Yeah.
There's things where, for example, when you use music in your work, there's those synchronization licenses you need and all that.
Yes.
There's legal people who just need to handle that.
Hiyo ni kazi yake peke
Ni kazi
yake.
yake tu ni ku find those synchronization licenses na policies just for your film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. Learning
So diverse.
much. It's very, very diverse.
Yeah.
I want to know from you, you described yourself as a storyteller, which I love. We need so many more African storytellers. Do you have lies that you were told about who you were? So when you were starting out, you had a business partner who was your long-term friend, which was epic. You happened to get a great boss who was able to guide you and not trifox you guys. But in the rest of the industry and dealing with everybody else, actors we usually are told you can be typecast. In the production world, are there lies other people try to justify or other people try to show you, no, you're not this, you're this?
Oh, yeah. There's always those people who want to tell you do this and do that. But now my type of lie or fallacy that was there was exposure, being paid in exposure. I feel like, yes, being paid in exposure is not fun.
Right.
But you actually need exposure because you've never done it. So,
right.
So how do you know that this is a 24 to 70 mm lens unless you've seen it in the film?
You've never used it.
You've never used it. So exposure is a good thing. But that does not mean producers, you're not supposed to take advantage of the crew now. Pay people their dues if you can pay them.
Yeah.
And when their dues are due. But you need exposure.
Yeah.
So people used to say, you can't pay us in exposure, you can't pay, because that's where people were coming from at that time.
Yeah.
There's even something an actor I know said, your mentor has something to do with how you perceive the industry. Because
True.
If your mentor came from a scarcity mindset, you will also be thinking in terms of
same
scarcity.
Thing, yeah.
But if your mentor came from a very totally different mindset, you will also have a different mindset. So most of the people we found at the time were like, they had been stiffed, they had been shafted. They had, you go on set, you do something, and you don't see your money coming.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Of course.
Which sucks. I don't want to be those producers who stiff people off of their money.
Yeah,
but that exposure is actually good. Because for me, I've actually played almost all the roles on set. I've even acted. That's why I know what can be done in the film space.
Yeah.
I've been an assistant director. I've been a director. I've directed my own stuff. I've been even an executive producer in some sets. I've been a producer in some sets. I've been a writer. I've acted in some. So being like a utility player on set has helped me appreciate the different roles everyone plays on set.
Yeah.
And the most underappreciated role that I think we need, because everyone wants to be a cinematographer or a director.
Yes.
But nobody wants to be a production designer. That's why I shout out to somebody like Tash who's doing this stuff.
Yes.
Keep at it. Because that's the gap that is existent in the market right now.
Very true. And if you can make something look the way the person who created it made it to look, or maybe even better, then you're the reason the film, whatever project it is a success. Yeah. Yeah. Because it looked the way it was supposed to look.
Yeah.
Together with the lighting person
it created
and everything.
The world.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because this is a world we are creating. This is the world that exists for Skika now.
Exactly.
You see?
Yeah.
So if the world is not as exciting, why should we be there? Should we be there watching? But if the world is as exciting, you're like, okay, cool. That looks interesting. So I think I need to watch that.
Okay. Yeah. So we've talked about people being skirted and played and how it's terrible to have that culture in the industry. I want you to tell us a story of a time you got played.
You want me to choma?
Choma. You don't have to mention names, but me, I'm always like, mention them. Let them not get away with it.
Well, I don't think I've ever gotten played in the game because I've always been very self-aware.
Okay.
I just had somebody skip out with my dues. I think that's the worst that has happened to me.
Okay.
And it was a small balance that was left of around 10,000 shillings.
Okay.
But now there's many of those that have happened. So
right.
if you put them together, they add up. But it's been mostly such kind of small cases where somebody pays for the service and then they don't finish up on payment. So I can't really say I've been stiffed yet, but I've never been given that exposure itself. But I think the closest lesson I ever had is a client told me to my face, your work sucks. Yeah. I think.
So you've done everything and now you were sending the final piece.
The final output, and the client is like, your work sucks. And you know how this is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And how you emotionally invest into the product so that it is what it is.
As in, even if you're paid that one, it's on your mind for a minute.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. Okay.
They paid, yes, but it stuck to me. But then at the end of the day, I realized there's no hard feelings. When they say your product sucks, you need to find out what makes it suck.
Yeah. What was the issue?
Yeah, what was the issue? So nowadays, I take time to see what are the points that suck in my product, or what can I do to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want us to head on over to social media. I really like the way you're doing your page. And
Thank
I
you.
scrolled a bit of far back, so I saw quite a change and a difference. There's a point you just started posting only video content.
Yeah.
And being very intentional about posting what your company, Paragon, was doing. And I also noticed that with one particular production, I think it's Banta,
Yeah.
all your captions are in Kiswahili.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand, go translate. Wrote a deal.
Yes.
And I thought that was really cool and very interesting. And so I wanted to understand your approach to social media. Why did you choose to do things the way you're doing them on your page?
So Banta was an experiment.
Okay.
So a friend.
What's that fantastic show? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually still running right now.
Yeah.
But my point of joining it at that time was an experiment on my end. So I'd done all these things. I'd run a client project, a documentary where I'd produced the entire thing. I was like, I think now I can produce a show.
Yeah.
Let me try something different. And the reason I tried out Banta is because the actor or the host who was doing Banta at that time was a close friend of mine.
Yes.
So one day I just go visit him at his place, and then he plays what he had just filmed, and which was actually episode 1. So I look at the episode, I'm like, oh, dude, you have something here. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Let me just come on board to produce for a certain limited amount of time. I bring input X, Y, and Z if it's okay with you.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, cool. He was willing to experiment. I was like, cool. Then we started working. So slowly, he defines his niche. He's really comfortable when he speaks in Sheng, when he mixes the languages.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? We are going to make this show about the host and not the guests. So try and get the guests to your level by how you lead the conversation.
Yes.
So that was how we went about it. And then even us guys now, when we were doing our marketing strategy, strategy for the show, we were like, you know what? We are going to follow suit. We are not going to deviate from the original spirit of the show.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, what I was thinking at the time was, I used to be known for writing my captions. If you read my Instagram captions, they are silly as hell. If you go further down.
Yes.
So I was like, why not bring back the silliness, but now put it in this context?
Right.
So it was a mix of everything. It was a mix of what I would perceive, because I was the one who was also editing the show and distributing the show at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So producing by fire.
Yeah.
So in the process of doing it, I started now learning, okay, the audience is defining itself. This is how we should go about it. And then I had, he's actually even studying marketing right now.
Oh, good.
Yes. And he's never marketed any film product. So I gave him a strategy. I told him, dude, create for us a marketing strategy where we can have these rails out there.
Yes.
And we get to our audience or demographic based on how you see it. And this kid goes out, he's actually Gen Z, goes out, he's still in school learning marketing, goes out, figures it out, and comes back and tells me, dude, we can do X, Y, and Z.
This is the host of the show.
Not the host of the show now.
Oh.
Now the people now I started including behind the show.
Wow.
So the host himself had the unique thing about how he spoke.
Yes.
And how he excited there was some level of excitement he would bring out of his guests.
Yeah.
Which attracted me to the show.
People look so happy on that set. And they toboa so much. He makes them so comfortable. I don't even think they're aware how much they've shared.
They're sharing so much.
But it's really, really awesome. I really enjoyed watching it. And I'm really looking forward to more episodes. And congrats to you guys on that, because I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Are the reels on TikTok as well?
Yeah, they're on TikTok. Now on his page, yeah.
Yeah, good. They have to be.
Yeah, so everything we were doing is we were doing the experiment based on your stuff.
Yes.
So the reason for the experiment was because, we call ourselves the hard drive filmmakers. Most of these Nairobi filmmakers I know, they have really dope shows, but they're on their hard drives.
Yeah.
So even him, I found his show on the hard drive.
Hard drive filmmakers. Guys, you're being called out.
So guys just need to get out there and post it. Being perfect. Like we were having a off the record conversation of, trying to become a perfectionist and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yes, like to hell with being perfectionist. Just go for it. Let that out of focus shot fly. Let that jump cut fly.
Yeah, the magic might be right after. You never know.
Yeah, let that bad audio fly. The magic, like, even in Hollywood, they thrive on happy accidents.
True.
You see? So you might find your happy accident in that mistake.
Yes. Like, I think we've already talked about Game of Thrones, but when they had the coffee cup, by mistake on the table of one of the scenes. It went viral and everyone was talking about it. I think they added 1 million new viewers to the show.
Exactly.
A happy mistake.
Yeah. With good rewards. So
Very
at the end of the day,
rewards.
don't be scared of making the mistake. You see, like, even if you watched Banter, the first episode, the first episode is not like the other episodes. You might say everything you want to say about the first episode. Even the host was like, no, we should not post this.
Right.
Let's do another one. Let's call him again. I'm like, no, he can't repeat word for word what he said here.
True.
Because there's something you brought out of him when you were having this conversation that just stays with this conversation.
Yes.
You see? So go with it the way it is.
I love that.
And the audience will like it as we go.
I'm so interested to know, because you seem very, I don't know what the word right is to use, like stable, like like you know exactly who you are and where you want to go and the things that you want to do, and you're just looking for the right people to work with. And I'm curious about like mental health and wellness and whether you approach that with intention and you're like, hivi na hivi ndio nafanyanga, mimi naendanga therapy, ama mimi ukimbia asubuhi, ama mimi what is your method and what would you describe wellness for you as a filmmaker? Does it exist? Are you just born stable, ama una act say?
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you asked that question because we don't talk about it. We only talk about the work, the money.
Right.
But there's now the mental wellness that now makes you be more productive.
Exactly.
Now, for me, I don't take my mental wellness for granted. I actually worked on a documentary about mental wellness.
Oh.
It's actually that what made me now realize, you need to take your mental wellness
seriously.
For real.
Yeah.
Because it's now what makes you productive and makes you be a performing individual, if you are one. So for me, my mental wellness is I always deroll. I always detach myself from work. Because I know after working for 10 years in the space, I know my work days.
Right.
So the days that are not my work days, I know those days I am doing nothing related with film.
Okay.
It might be going out to have a meal with friends. It might be working out. It might be going even out. It might be chilling with family. Anything that it's convenient for you at the time that you're able to do. That way, you disassociate your work life with your social life. You need to get that balance. Because I remember when I was starting out, that period between 2014 to 2018, I was so much indoors, just learning the technique, learning the craft, learning everything.
Working all the time.
Researching into everything, knowing the roles, everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
And it was intense.
Right.
And then once I now started bringing all this knowledge into the real world, I realized now that's just a small percentage you've learned of what you need supposed to do. The remaining percentage is actually nothing related to what you're actually doing. And then I took a certain filmmaker I love. She's called Ava DuVernay. I bet you guys know her.
Love Ava.
Yeah,
Very obsessed with her.
Ava says her process for writing is she lives life.
I think I saw her
It's as
say
simple
this.
as that.
Yes, because she was like, that's where it comes from. So
Yeah,
if I'm not
just live
outside
life.
with people and doing things and living life and meeting people, how am I going to write about them?
Exactly. I've gotten inspiration for some of my ideas from just having conversations with people who are not filmmakers at all. Nothing to do with film. They say something and I'm like, cool.
There's something
I'm
there.
doing that when I get back to the studio. You see, so live life.
I'm so happy that you've said that. It's a simple formula, but it's like you have to force yourself to do it. And I think the biggest thing in what you've said is there shouldn't be a separation no matter what the career you've picked is. So in normal career, there's leave days or off days if you work through the weekends or things like that. And for you, you've set them up for yourself and you respect them and you take them seriously.
Yes.
So if today you're supposed to work half the day, you're working half the day.
Yes.
If you were meant to chill, rest, play a sport, whatever it is, it's happening.
Yes.
And work will
And you
still
stick
be
to
there
that.
when I'm done.
Yes.
Like that.
Even I had to even define work hours for myself. You also need to define your work hours, because earlier on when I was starting out, clients would even call at midnight, like, "Oh, yo, could you make changes to CG time what X and Y?" And like, dude, it's midnight.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, what are we doing here? You couldn't wait till 9 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning.
The next day.
Yeah, because whatever it is, can wait.
Yeah.
So, when you're starting out, you're excited about creating.
True.
But then, as you continue growing into it, you realize it's not only about that.
Yeah.
It's about the entire balance.
When I started working in media, I was just the same. And my husband, who was my boyfriend then, was the guy who told me, babe, imagine you need to have a time in your head where you can be on your phone, yes, for your own happiness, but there's no text or call coming in that you're going to answer.
Yes.
Because people get used to it. So if you're always texting back at 10, you're always texting back at 1 a.m., people will be like, "Uy, anakwanga always available." Yeah. If you get them used to after 9, you're not really going to answer. The message is still there. You'll respond in the morning. Then they also get accustomed to it. They're like, "Hey, yeah, this is a human. She has a life."
Yes.
So there's no way I'd expect her to be there for me, no matter how late it is.
Yes. So at the end
Bryan,
of the day,
with the
you're the
wisdom.
one who defines your
Yeah.
your
Your
how
time.
you want, your time spent.
And your value.
Yeah.
Do you have a time where you can look back and say, "Oh, that was my darkest day in filmmaking"?
Yeah, there was one dark day. We were shooting a music video. I'm not going to mention names because now this one involves artists. Let me protect their egos. They're very fragile. And see, I told you I started out as a music video director.
Yes.
When you're a music video director, the biggest role you have is as a babysitter. Because there are egos you have to protect.
Right.
So,
and then characters on set. The videos sometimes you have only one person.
Exactly.
But most of the time it's a number of people.
Yeah, and this time round, it was a number of proper celebrities.
Okay.
So these dudes knew we were supposed to shoot from 4 p.m. to get those nice, cool sunset shots.
Uh-huh.
The ones that were made popular by Enosolik music videos back in the day.
golden hour.
Golden hour shots. Mm-hmm. So we've planned everything. And golden hour is fleeting.
Yes.
When it comes,
very
in a
quick.
hot second, it's out. So we've planned everything nicely. We know we need our setup to be done by 3. Our talent to be on location by around 4:30, such that by 5 we are rolling with the remaining light. So by the time we are getting into the thick of golden hour, we're already comfortable inside the shots.
Yes.
So everything sounds good. The artists who are meant to be there for the first scenes were there.
Okay.
Now the ones who are to join later on were not there.
Oh no.
So we are like, it's still 4 p.m. So it's fine. We can give them.
Some
we
time.
can extend an olive branch to 5. Let's keep shooting this. So we keep shooting. 5:30 gets, and now start getting worried. It's time is about. We are about to get done now with the golden hour.
Yes.
Because once it gets to 6, that sun dips like it's being chased away.
Yeah. Now it's a night video.
Yeah. Now it becomes nighttime. Mm-hmm. So hey, where are these guys? Where is this guy? Why are you coming? Like it doesn't. No one is coming. It gets to 6. You're like, we've missed this one.
Imeenda tu hivyo.
Imeenda. And then, you're like, we've given up. You're like, this guy will never come back again.
Yeah.
So we decide to close the set and go home. So when you're on our way back home, we get a call from the manager. Yo, your talent is ready now to get this done. That's around 11 p.m. in the night.
No.
Yeah, around 11 p.m. Your talent is ready to get this done. So we come back to location. You're like, we don't care now what shots we are getting.
By the way, si video ni yako.
Yeah, we no longer care. Just get us a cool location around where you are. We'll light it up and film away.
Yeah.
So we get there, 11 a.m. We set up the lights. The talent is not there. So I called the manager again. I asked them, you said your talent is here. Like, yeah, we're on our way. Actually, I meant we're on our way. It gets to around 1 a.m. in the morning. Talent is still not there. We're still waiting. I call again. Where are you guys?
I'm so upset.
Yeah, you guys.
What?
This guy shows up at 4 in the morning. 4 a.m. drunk as the neighborhood, the village madman.
Right.
Properly plastered. And you're supposed to film him for that scene. We filmed. I was like, yeah, I've waited for so many hours.
I mean, you should have been asleep because even from when you closed, you could have slept and come at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason that was the darkest day was because apart from the hours that we spent waiting for this talent to arrive on location, he arrives on location, he now starts directing the same stuff again. He's like, no, do this like the way Quentin Tarantino does stuff. I'm like, dude, come on now. You've kept us here for hours and then
now you're the director.
Again. Now you're directing again. I was like, you're getting what you're getting. Do what I am saying.
Actually take you all for rides. What?
And I think it's because I was a first-time director he was working with. So he was taking advantage of that in my book. That's how I saw it. Yeah. So the reason it was the darkest day because I remember my business partner and I were now driving from the location back now to the studio to go edit the material we'd captured.
Right.
And we were sleeping on the road as we go.
Yeah.
We were on Thika Road and I remember...
Exhaustion.
I remember that day we came all the way on Thika Road. We came to Wayaki Way because our studio is in Karen. We didn't want to go via Ngong Road because we knew Ngong Road is a bit chaotic with traffic and all that stuff. And we were not the steadiest of hands that day.
And it's now early morning and everyone's going to work. So it's jam-packed.
Yes, it's jam-packed. And most of the music videos would shoot on Sundays because, Sundays are less busy.
Right.
So that on Monday, people rest. And even up to date, Mondays are usually my rest days. So it was on a Monday morning, we were supposed to be resting. We were on our way back home. We were driving as we were sleeping. We parked somewhere, I think, was it Ola or somewhere on Wayaki Way?
Yeah.
Just to get a coffee. We actually even asked the guard there, let us sleep just for 1 hour here. Then we'll have some coffee and leave. We paid him something and that's what we did.
That was a very smart decision because it would have meant maybe not making it to Karen.
Yeah,
because sleep is... That's why they have rules for even drivers and pilots, how many hours you can operate for.
Yes.
Sleep is... If you have not slept, your body will sleep.
Yeah, it will shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will shut down.
Shame on you.
So that's the worst I've ever had. Yeah.
That's quite the experience, my word.
Yeah, but the rest have been small fires that I've been able to manage. Since that, I think... That's where my producer instinct kicked in now.
That's where things got really, really good.
Yeah.
I want you to talk to us about a love lost in filmmaking.
A love lost in filmmaking. Is it losing a love in terms of a human or love lost in terms of interest?
It could be a human, it could be interest, it could be item.
I think I have not experienced that yet for now. But the one love that I lost was one project that we were meant to work on but didn't happen. It was one of those projects. I'm passionate about music and sports.
Okay.
So this project was combining a bit of all those elements that I love. And unfortunately, because of the friction between our producer who was handling us at that time and the writer of the show, the project didn't happen. So we were dropped as the production crew. Another crew was picked up, which actually still worked for the project, yes.
Okay.
But it was a project that I really loved, that I really
wanted to do.
Yeah, that I really wanted to do because it had the basic foundations of things that I love the most. I think that's mostly what I can say was the love lost that I've had in film. Most of the stories are actually positive.
Okay.
And, school trained me to be a problem solver. So when there are problems, I'll solve it. So
and you move,
Yeah, crisis will be averted 90% of the time.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Just to give some contrast, a brightest day. A day that you were like, man, I love filmmaking. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And today was amazing.
The day I directed my first music video, having somebody else frame the shot for me. It was for this boy band called Kelele Takatifu at that time. The music video is called Ngori.
Oh,
if you've heard of it.
Video. Yes.
And the reason it was the best day is because we had never used a Steadicam. During that period in time, I wanted to do a one-take kind of video where the camera does not cut at any one point.
Right.
Everything just happens and reveals in front of the camera as we go. So I'd written down everything, and in my head at that time, I thought I would mostly use the environment to my advantage for that. But I didn't know it was such a high-end, such a high-budget music video at that time.
Right.
But we made it work with so much less because the first location we had was to film in town in the CBD. Unfortunately, on that Sunday, it rained. So I asked the artists, where can we find another location that can help us do our stuff.
Right.
So, the artists were very industrious. They sent themselves out. They found a place somewhere in Machakos. All the way we went to Athi River.
What?
To shoot that music video. Yeah, it was shot in some estate somewhere in Athi River huko. The reason that project was the best for me is because I remember the person who was DPing that is my business partner right now.
Oh, nice.
He had never used...
DPing is director of photography.
Yes, director of photography, sorry. So he had never used a Steadicam. And during that period of time, we never even had... We had gimbals, these electronic ones, but we didn't have the pistol grip.
Right.
Like the Ronins now.
Now everybody got it.
Yeah, we had the Move instead, the one that was being held with both hands.
Yes.
But it was mighty expensive to have it on set. It was like around 20,000 at that time. And you guys are starting, you don't have 20K just to splash on a gimbal.
Yeah.
So you're like, no, we are going to hire the cheapest we can find. So we found a Steadicam for 5Gs. You're like, bro.
That's it.
That is the one we are going with. And you're going to learn operating it on the job.
Yes.
So he learned operating it on the job. And meanwhile, I was there reading my script, telling people what to do on location. I had even somebody, the person who was doing the behind the scenes, shout out, which is the camera, shout out. He actually ended up being Raila's official photographer.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Dims. Yes, he was the one who was doing behind the scenes. So somehow I got him to come on set to do the behind the scenes. And also just to give you backstory, go to just a slight digression is, you remember the project I was saying, the Happy Video?
Yes.
He was actually even our official photographer for that Happy Video.
Oh, I love it.
So at that time, I actually noticed I had a knack for producing because I put together a team.
That worked very well.
So I already knew who could be the behind the scenes photographer.
Yes.
Who directed, because I had a friend of mine who was directing it.
Yeah.
My business partner was the one who was the DP. The photographer who I just shouted out was the one, Dims. He was the one who was doing the behind the scenes. So now we brought him back again now for this music video. So he was the one who was doing that. So for me, the reason it was very impressive for me is because everything came together as I thought about it.
And it worked out.
Yeah. But the one thing that didn't come together as I thought about it was the production design.
Oh.
Yeah. If you look at the video, we just worked with the environment.
Whatever was there. But you even had to change set. So it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Change location and everything.
Yeah. So that's the most I can say was my most epic moment when I was starting out.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to get you again to talk about taxes in film because you've been overheard doing a lot when it comes to that. But on the podcast, we've been doing questions from one artist to another.
Oh.
So there was a question where somebody wanted to know if you could go back to school specifically, knowing what you know now, what would you add? What would you study that would help you be further?
The business of film, the business of entertainment.
Right.
The reason I say that, for example, is because, entertainment is also a business, but we look at it as mostly as an art.
Yeah, the expression.
Yeah, the expression of, I came to learn that that's a very small percentage of the entire thing. So if given a chance, if I would go back to school, I'd want to know everything to do with just even how to split royalties, how to distribute a film, how to, remunerate crew in certain ways and how to agree, in the field I've learned sometimes, you don't have to have monetary gains only.
True.
It can be in kind also.
Yes.
You see, so learning that balance, when and where to do that, just basically understanding how better, because you see, for example, like Warner Bros, for example.
Yeah. Warner
Bros, you might find they never own a single camera. But they are a very profitable company.
Right.
You see, how are they profitable?
Exactly.
They only distribute films.
Yes.
You see, so it's a whole facet. It's everything. There's everything you can learn on the business of entertainment, and that I think is what I can want to spend more time with now.
Yeah, I was thinking you had talked about exposure and how it's so important. And if the business of film or the business of art was taken more seriously, we were having a background conversation about how these things should even be in law. And everybody should have contracts and know exactly what's expected of them.
Yes.
And even if I know I am the intern on set or I'm here for exposure, but I know I'm protected in the sense of maybe my transport is being compensated.
Exactly.
I'm being fed well. I'm on set. And I'm allowed to take notes. I'm allowed to record on the side. Just like little things that are still payment. Or artists doing barter trade. That one of, okay, I can't afford to pay Bryan for him to film this and this and this for me, but we can exchange services.
Yeah.
So Bryan will come film this, and I come host episodes of this and this for him. And now all of us are happy, and everybody got what it is that they
Value
needed.
for value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Last and not least, I want you to close your eyes and just imagine Kenyan film industry, the one that you dream of, not the one that we're in the reality right now. Perhaps 10 years from now. What does it look like?
For me, it looks like we have set up studios like Tyler Perry kind of studios across the board. We are having films like, we are producing like 1,000 and something films in a year, or even more in a month. We are having people constantly moving from set to set. You see, you like there's no downtime.
Yes.
Actors are even having representation. You see.
Like you have an agent.
Yeah,
like
you have an agent.
Things,
yeah. You see, like we are having our staff, our films and our projects on the chart, on the box office.
Yes.
Things like that. We are having like our own kind of award shows that recognize our brilliance and our own. We are having innovation even in this film. You see, like how Christopher Nolan had to make the special IMAX camera to film Avatar.
Yes.
We have the brains to do that
That's
also for our own stuff.
True.
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to see an African film and you'd know this film is from this place. Just from the first couple of seconds.
Yeah, you just know already that is so and so who's done that stuff. That's the kind of industry I'm seeing, like a holistic industry where we're even having trained labor or trained personnel. People are leaving school, coming and joining the industry from real training.
Yes.
Not those small certification courses that we are doing right now.
Yeah.
Like even the government has incorporated whatever we are doing right now into the curriculum, you see, because they are now starting to tax us.
Yes.
Like if this podcast might live on the internet.
Yeah.
There's something called DST now.
Yep.
With the new finance tax once it goes.
Digital service tax. Now withholding imepanda.
Exactly. So if you're having DST there in the process, yes, now government will tax us. But now we also need to tell government what now works for us.
Yeah.
So we also need to even have associations. You see, like even, is it Sagra or Biafra or something?
Yeah, the ones who on strike.
Yeah. You see those associations.
Yeah.
We need to have such kind of representation now also just makes the ecosystem whole.
Yeah.
Such that, you can't speak to government as an individual, but
That's
you can
true.
speak to government as an association.
As an association. Yeah, there's power in numbers.
Yeah, so we need to have even more associations for cinematographers, production designers, photographers, everyone in the space needs to be there. We just need to move this thing from a gig-based economy to an actual creative economy.
Actual real creative economy. Bryan, thank you for coming on. What is the question that you would want another artist to answer? They could be in any sphere of the business, but what would you want to know from them? What
would I want to know? So you're saying I'd be a little nosy?
Yeah, please. Very nosy by all means.
Well, from my experiences, I would like to know your biggest points of failure.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in failure is where we learn.
True.
So if whatever I would want to learn from any other artist is, what was your biggest point of failure? And what did you learn from it and how did you get out of it in case you addressed it?
Yeah. If you were able to hack, what did you do?
Yeah, because successes are successes.
That's a great question.
Yeah. You don't learn anything from a success.
It's true, you're just happy.
Yeah, you're just happy. But a failure, I bungled this project and this is where I bungled it. Now that is where you learn.
If somebody was to be as late on set as that time somebody was very late on your darkest day, knowing what you know now, what do you do now?
What do I do now? Of course, there has to be a head has to roll at some point.
Right.
But also, I learned from a director called Victor Gatonye. When filming Bant, actually, he said, as a director, humans are your equipment. You see the sound guy there, he's playing with his things there, his mixers. The cinematographer, the DP, director of photography is playing with his lenses. Everyone else has things to play with. Even the production manager has to play with this fabric and all. But you have the talent, you have the humans. So it's up to people. It's now people's skills now. Yes, this person is late. But your reaction to them is now what will determine your relationship moving forward. So now you have to judge for yourself now based in that situation.
Very true.
So do I want to maintain this relationship or I want to burn this bridge?
Yeah.
Because, your immediate reaction is to burn the bridge.
Right.
But then it's only human because even you as yourself, the instances you're also late.
Yeah. Very true.
So at the end of the day is to just assess the situation and see, okay, did you communicate?
Yeah.
When you said you were coming late?
Right.
Do you have a valid reason?
Yes.
If they don't have a valid reason, maybe something has to roll. Maybe you say, maybe we'll deduct something from your rate.
Yeah.
because of your tardiness or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll do this and that.
Yeah.
So it's
if you're not communicating, you might not find us, and we might not come, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
End of story.
And I remember I told you talent is fragile.
Yeah.
Because I also have this theory where I say, brilliance is very fragile. It needs to be handled in a particular way. Brilliance is very uncontrollable.
Yes.
It doesn't like being controlled.
Right.
So if you want it to work in your advantage, you have to control it in a way that it knows it's not being controlled.
You have to be smart about it.
Yes, lazima
ucheze chini tu.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bryan Adagala.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Paragon Time Lapse for letting us borrow this very, very busy human. It's been a great conversation, and I really, really appreciate you coming through. I am Susan Joroge Awori, and this is Skika Uncover. We're going to be seeing each other in future episodes, but I definitely have to shout out Paragon Time Lapse once again, and Panzigo Productions, that is the production house that is doing this beautiful job that you're watching here. Skika Africa as well. Check them out on skikaafrica.com. Savannah Space, who have given us this furniture. They are based in Lavington, so please look out for them. And I'm going to see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.